teammate LeBron James had in the playoffs. Kyrie Irving has now played a combined total of 1 playoff games in his life, and Dwayne Wade is a first-ballot Hall of Famer. What I'm saying is that Kyrie Irving, what is he, 23 years old?
23 years old.
Kyrie Irving should be the best player on that team when LeBron James can't be anymore. You know what I mean? Like LeBron, they could get to a point. What is LeBron, 31? 30, 31?
I think he's around there, yeah.
They 3 years from now, LeBron might be a little bit on the descent.
And then Kyrie be 26,
still
27.
be on the ascent.
Exactly. He'll be in the prime of his career.
And LeBron was actually talking about that. LeBron is 30. In the Sunday conversation that we were talking about with McMenamin, he talked a little bit about his professional mortality, LeBron did.
I feel like I'm the best. That's just how I feel about my game, how I feel about my knowledge, my IQ of the game, and you really don't want to go down. I do know one thing, that Father Time is undefeated. But right now, I'm not facing that wall, and I'm gonna just try to maximize my career, maximize what I can do individually and for my team, as long as I got the opportunity to do it.
Here would be an interesting exercise. Hembo, I'm going to put you on this. You look at the greatest players of all time. At what age did they really start to hit a little bit of a wall? You know, and the one that I'm thinking of immediately, really, you don't have there is no number, because Michael Jordan retired. He kept retiring. When he won the sixth of his titles, the last of the second three-peats, the league went into lockout, and then he never came back. He came back years later as a wizard at the age of 39 or 40.
Yeah, because he schooled me like 3 possessions in a row. But that's another story.
In Washington?
Day. Oh, it was embarrassing.
So he was still good, but he wasn't Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan, exactly.
And who knows at what point he would have stopped being Michael Jordan, because his last year in the league, he was still the best player in the league. A guy like Kobe has had a variety of injuries that have slowed him, and maybe that in and of itself is telling. But when he's been on the court, he's still been magnificent, right? Sensational. His last basically full year, the year that he tore his Achilles at the very end of the year, he had a huge year. Huge year. So how many years hence do we figure LeBron is still at the very top of the league? 3, 4, 5, 6? Is it that many? If it is that many, then they have a chance to be a dynasty.
I think LeBron still has another good 4 years. I think there's another good 4 years, and you're watching his game evolve too, his ability to make shots, and he's so magic-like in his ability to make plays. That's what makes him so special.
He was put on this earth to be the greatest point guard that ever lived. I've said that for a long time, and that's the role that he sort of does occupy, and always to some degree has occupied. Now,
is he your top 10 greatest player of all time?
Oh,
is he
easily.
Top 10? Yes. Okay,
when we were debating, he made the Mount Rushmore discussion come up recently. And we did our Mount Rushmore. My Mount Rushmore of basketball all time was Michael Jordan, because I think he's the greatest player, Bill Russell, because he's the greatest winner, Wilt Chamberlain, because he's the most dominant player that ever lived. And then it broke my heart to leave a couple of guys off. I put Oscar Robertson as my fourth guy. But if you want to put Magic Johnson there, you get no argument. You want to put Kareem Abdul-Jabbar there, you get no argument. Shaq, to me, would be a mini step down, because I would put Kareem ahead of him at his own position. But, I mean, a mini step. Hakeem Olajuwon, there's a lot of guys. You want to put LeBron in there, you get no argument out of me. No argument out of me. So as far as I'm concerned, you could make him a top 5 player all time right now. But putting that aside for the moment, however long he figures to be that, he could then get to a place where he becomes the second best player on his team and Kyrie can carry him. Now, the question is, if you're Kevin Love, you tell me, because you were a professional athlete and you were the second pick in the draft, and I'm sure at some point we're thinking in your own mind, how am I going to make my place in the league? How am I going to make my stake my claim to greatness? Now, if you're Kevin Love, do you want to sign up to be, for the foreseeable future, the third best player on your team? To be a guy you're going to win, you got a real good chance to win, but you're probably never going to maximize what you could have been as a player. Would you be willing to do that?
Well, if you're talking about maximizing being a max player, he can still get that max
That's
player
not what
money.
I mean, though.
Okay, but you're talking about his fullest potential.
If he thinks he can be one of the all-time greats, if he stays where he is, he's never going to be thought of that way. Zero chance.
Let me play devil's advocate to that, because if he's averaging 19 and 12, all right, let's say that's what he started off the playoff series with. If he's averaging those kind of numbers and they win a championship and then they decide to win multiple championships, doesn't that increase the status of his legacy?
You tell me.
I think it does. I think we define people on how they win championships. That's what we always do. We do that with Tom Brady. We've done that with Charles
because
Barkley.
He's Tom Brady. Do we do it with Chris Bosh?
I do. I mean, I think Chris Bosh is going to probably be a Hall of Famer now, because he got the 2 chips with D. Wade and LeBron.
Yeah.
Without that, he's not.
I think that if Kevin Love, I'm not saying you're wrong, and that is certainly a way of looking at it.
Do you leave? Would you leave if you don't win a championship? Do you go to L.A.
and try and build a team around you? That's the question. He's going to have to answer it. I don't know. I can't tell you what I would do because I can't even envision being in that circumstance. But I think I would consider leaving. Much more on this as we continue. I got that great Shane Battier story, Louis Riddick in our studio on the Tebow signing, and much more jam-packed on a Monday. Mike and Mike.